Setting up meeting for Facebook Live. Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook, it says. So it says, let me see over here. Yeah. All right, can you say something?
Yes. Test 1 2, test 1 2.
All right, just a moment. This is the most exciting part of the day right here.
Yes. Technology's awesome.
Okay. Okay, I think we're lagging behind, but we are definitely live.
Hey.
Good Friday morning to you all, friends. This is Joe from McCleer Law Office, Oshkosh Elder Law and Estate Planning. It is Friday, December 11th, 2 weeks exactly from Christmas and the first day of Hanukkah. And here we are with McCleer Law Live with Nick Behnke of SBG Financial. Nick, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good morning.
Now, Nick, we're going to talk about long-term care insurance. That's going to be the topic of our little conversation here. But perhaps people know who you are, and a lot of people watching may. But just to make sure, we got to learn a little bit about you with a little get-to-know-you quiz. So are you ready to be quizzed about yourself?
We're ready. Fire away.
Okay. Now, your company is SBG Financial, which is on North Main. How long has SBG been in business?
So the LLC was formed in 2010. I've been a financial advisor for 20 years.
That is correct. 2010. So this is your 10th anniversary this year.
It is, yes.
Pretty impressive. Going strong. All right. So SBG has received the Best of Winnebago County Award how many times?
3 in the last 5 years.
3 in the last 5 years. I'm surprised I get nominated every year. I'm surprised, but I've never won. You won 3 in the last 5 years. So you are clearly the best of Winnebago County.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
My last question is actually a 3-part question.
All right, fire away.
Now, aside from doing insurance and financial planning, you are a football coach at Lourdes High School. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. How many losses did Lourdes have this year?
0 losses.
Undefeated. Holy cow. All right. Part B to that question. This was the first time Lourdes has gone undefeated since when?
Forever.
First time ever. Unbelievable. Congratulations. Okay, last questions. This is going to be an easy one. Lourdes High School, obviously a Catholic high school, named after Our Lady of Lourdes, which recognizes the 18 apparitions of the Blessed Virgin Mary in Lourdes. In what country?
Oh, man.
You have 2 seconds.
2 seconds. Let's go with Italy. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. It's France.
France. Oh, that makes sense.
I will be keeping the car. So you'll get a copy of our home game sent to you. Yes. Don't worry. Look for that in the mail. All right. So now we know about you, Nick. I do deal with long-term care planning in my business, but I do not, I'm not an insurance agent. Yet I often tell folks that long-term care insurance should be the first thing you look at when it comes to prepping for long-term care costs. And I've talked about the rising costs of long-term care many times in various platforms. Now, that's why I'm glad to talk with folks like you who are agents for long-term care insurance. Now, you expressed to me prior to this chat that there are 3 methods to insure for long-term care costs. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Can you tell me what's the first method?
So the old-fashioned traditional long-term care insurance, it is incredibly hard to get approved for. In my career, I've seen about half of the people declined. Usually the decline is because people wait too long to apply for it. So traditional long-term care insurance is you're going to buy so much insurance per day, and that coverage is going to last for a period of time. So most people would buy like $200 a day for 2 to 4 years of time in a nursing home. That would be kind of an average policy people would buy.
Okay.
The challenge with it is you pay this premium, which is really expensive every year. And the older you get, the older you are and the worse health you're in, if you're approved, the higher the premium. And if you never end up using the insurance, all that money is lost. And that's been the biggest downside to the traditional long-term care insurance.
So you say it's traditional because it's probably the most one been around, but it's also most similar to other forms of insurance where you pay for it, but if you don't need it, the money's gone. Which right?
It's very similar to regular insurance, other than the price tag on this is going to be a lot. Many thousand a year for good coverage.
Many thousand a year for good coverage.
Yeah.
Now you say that people often wait too long. Correct. Now you feel free to chime in. I often tell folks when they're looking at long-term care insurance options, the best time would be decades before they could conceivably need it. Starting, I would say, in their 50s. What would be the sweet spot, would you say, for folks who are considering looking for long-term care insurance that they should start looking?
I would agree. 50s is probably your best bet. You're still probably going to get approved, and your premium's not going to be off the charts in your 50s. So I think that's probably the best. Most of the people that I've submitted applications for have been in their mid to late 60s. That's where I'm seeing that 50% decline rate in my career.
Sure. Yeah. And that's also when even if they get approved, the premiums are going to be substantially higher than they would if they had gone up
the charts. Yeah.
Sure.
Really expensive.
So that's traditional. And I'm to understand that traditional long-term care insurance is kind of going the way of the dodo almost. It's becoming less and less popular, and less insurers are offering coverage. Is that correct?
Yeah, it really is. It's still probably your most effective for insuring for long-term care, but yeah, it's becoming harder and harder to find and harder to get.
So, but now there are some alternatives. So what would be the second method that you would talk about for insuring for long-term care?
Yeah, so this popped up probably back in 2005 is when I really started noticing this. It was the answer to, well, I'm going to spend all this money on long-term care insurance, but I'm never going to use it. So life insurance companies, long-term care insurance companies, they said, well, let's make a life insurance policy that I can use my death benefit to pay for my long-term care need. So it's life with a long-term care insurance rider. Okay. So let's say you have $200,000 death benefit on your life insurance. Okay. And you have a 4% long-term care insurance rider. That means you can use 4% of your death benefit per month. So 4% of 200,000 is 8,000. And you'd get that coverage for 25 months. Okay. Basically have that $200,000 pot spread out over 25 months, and you would be spending down your death benefit. So if you used all $200,000, your death benefit would be gone. But if you only use, let's say, 100,000, then you'd still have that $100,000 death benefit. This way, you're going to get something. You're either going to get your death benefit or you're going to get the long-term care insurance for paying that premium for all that time. Now, in your experience, if somebody were to have a $200,000 policy with the long-term care rider, would those premiums be higher than just a traditional life insurance policy with the same death benefit? Not a lot. It would be slightly more because you'd have that rider attached. It's also slightly harder to get approved for because they're underwriting both for mortality and another word that I learned is called morbidity, which is your likelihood of going into a nursing home. So there's a little more underwriting involved. Slightly higher premium, but not that much more.
Would you say that still you'd be advising folks in the 50s range to be, this would be the option, you know, or the time period they'd be looking at this type, or would the ages change?
Yeah, for new, that would be the case. It's always typically that 50-year-old to 60-year-old is what you're looking for pretty much any long-term care insurance. But the kind of the I don't know if any of this is neat, but the neat part about this is if you can take an old life policy that has cash value, we can upgrade it to a life with long-term care policy. So
That's neat.
Add one from little on. You know, we've seen a lot of people whose parents got them a life policy, you know, and now maybe there's 50, 60, 70,000 of cash value in the policy. We can find out, you know, how much death benefit, how much long-term care insurance benefit can we take with that cash value and basically upgrade the policy. So assuming you're relatively healthy, that's been probably the most popular way to fund a life with long-term care insurance policy.
See, I think that is neat. Yeah, I think that is very, very neat, and I would hope some more folks would be looking into this. Overall, stepping back, you know, we got one more thing to cover, but as far as the percentage of folks who actually get some form of life or long-term care insurance product of any kind, could you peg a percentage on it? You know, about how many folks would get it?
Yeah, it's very low, and even just looking at our client base. And you know, so people that work with us tend to be, you know, a little more financial savvy because they're using a financial advisor, they have assets, things of that nature. And I would say maybe 10% of our clients have some type of long-term care insurance. So I would bet it's even lower, you know, in the general population.
I would have to imagine so. Probably not anywhere near that amount. Okay, so we covered the first two, traditional and then life insurance with the rider. What would be the third option?
So this is the newest one, and this is probably the coolest. Again, if there's such a thing as a cool insurance policy,
there is.
This is probably the coolest.
Okay.
So then there's two ways to fund. Basically, option one, way number one, is to take a single premium like pot of cash. You know, typically $50,000 to $100,000, and deposit it one time into this insurance policy. Now, the reason this is so cool is you can go back and get your cash anytime, no penalties, forever. So, and basically the comparison is, let's say you're sitting on $50,000 or $100,000 sitting in the bank in cash. Interest rates and your money market rates are probably 0.01%. So you're really not having any growth on that money. So why not take that cash that's just sitting there and let's leverage it up and get some long-term care insurance just in case. Because we can always go back and get that cash out of this policy whenever we want.
Sure.
Now, so you have access to that cash immediately. Day one, no penalty. There is no growth on your cash. Okay, so that kind of takes care of the cash part. There is a death benefit. It's slightly higher than your cash value. So there is a benefit, and your family will get something when you pass. It will be a little more than you put in. But your long-term care insurance benefit instantly is going to be 2, 3, 4 times that cash.
Okay.
And that long-term care insurance benefit is going to grow. So let's say you're retiring, and let's say you're 62 and you're retiring, and let's say you got $1 million. Okay. So what we can do is protect the million by taking maybe 75 or 100,000 of that, moving it over into this product, getting 150 to 200,000 of long-term care insurance coverage today, and by the time you're in your 80s, you're probably going to be close to 500,000 of long-term care insurance coverage.
Okay.
And we haven't then we're really protecting the rest of our retirement asset.
Certainly. Yeah.
So that's the single premium version.
Sure.
The other way to do it is, let's say you're in your last 10 years of work. So let's say you're going to retire at 65 and you're 55 today. We could take $1,000 a month and add it to this policy for 10 years and then be done at age 65 when it's time to retire. And you now basically taken and protected all your other investments, retirement assets, properties from long-term care need by funding this thing for 10 years and then not having to fund it once you retire.
Sure. So this is another instance where you're not potentially throwing money away if you put all this money into it and you have a heart attack, an aneurysm, you get hit by a bus or something like that. You're giving up any growth.
Right.
And I see some clients come to me and they have just so much money in savings accounts or money market accounts or even CDs nowadays. It's just not doing anything for them. And I said, let's find something else. And this would be seemingly a way that they can have anywhere from, you said 2 to 4 times. So anywhere from
right away. And then that's going to grow several percentage points every year.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say somebody's 65, if we put 75,000 in, we're probably looking at around 400,000 of long-term care coverage by the time they're in their mid 80s.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then that will continue to grow as they age.
That is cool. That is exciting. And I think it seems to be that these are going to be the wave of the future. So many people would, even though, and I tell people this all the time, a lot of folks are going to require some form of long-term care in the future. Very few people think it's going to be them.
It's half. It's half the people require some form of long-term care insurance.
Yeah, and I've seen half. I've seen up to 70%. I suspect that the 70% would include rehab assignments. Yeah. Okay, so that would make sense. So it's half of folks, and so that would mean for a married couple, if you play the math out, 75% chance that at least one of them will need some form of long-term care, right?
That's
all right.
That's correct math, yes.
Yeah, and that's not even counting rehab assignments, which will bring it up even higher. All right, and so, all right, well, I mean, very, very cool. I think, traditional long-term care insurance, I even say, it's like, go look for it, even though, it's got its risks involved in it, but go look for it because it offers any sort of good insurance products can offer a fair amount of freedom and protection over your assets, over your retirement savings, over your properties, saving stuff for your family. And quite frankly, long-term care facilities, they love good policies because that means they're going to be getting the private pay rate for longer than they would otherwise.
And you also, if you have a good policy, the nursing home, the long-term care facility can discriminate. If let's say there's one bed available or one quality room available versus a non-quality or not, whatever, they can discriminate at the time you're trying to get in.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you may be able to get a better facility, a better bed, a better room, etc., by having this.
Yeah, and with a lot of facilities closing the last couple of years, over 30 in the last 4 years, it's going to be slim pickings if things keep going this way. You're going to want to be able to come into that door and say, look, I've got this policy and I can pay for a couple of years. Yes. And they'd be more likely to admit you. You're right. Well, wonderful. All right. Well, it has been about 15 minutes thereabouts. So I will let you go, Nick, but thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. And thanks everybody who's watching. I'll put this up on our Facebook page. And so everybody have a good weekend and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.